All right, state the excluded values. Now, in this problem, there's a little bit of a trick going on because it's not just two fractions. There's this thing. So let's think about excluded values. Excluded values come from that impossible pizza situation, right? Where we can't have a denominator equal to 0. So from here, I have x cannot equal what? -2. So I'm going to put -2 over here. By the way, when you're typing it in on the computer, you do not need to find the not equal to part. I will have a spot that says excluded values, and you can just list the numbers. Okay? Right here, the easiest way to get the excluded values is going to be to factor it. Yep, super x. And when you super x it, I like how that can be a verb also. 28, -11, 7 and 4? Yes. With both of them negative? Yes. So x minus 7 and x minus 4. What do I get from here? X cannot equal 7. And from here, x cannot equal 4. So 7 and 4, and a lot of you stopped there. That's where this little trick comes in, and I'm pretty sure, I haven't seen the exact version of the test yet, but I'm pretty sure on the test it's going to have a division there also. If it had a multiplication sign there, I'd be done. Why is it an issue that has a division sign? Because in the process of solving, you would have to flip it, meaning this would become a denominator. So if it's a division there, I need to check there for an excluded value also. So if I have 6x plus 9, I can actually factor that, can't I? 3 times 2x plus 3. Yeah? What's my excluded value from here? X cannot equal what? -3/2. So if you lost a point there, it's because you missed the -3/2 there. Okay? So again, the only reason we set that numerator equal to 0 was because this is a division problem. If that was multiplication, we don't worry about the denominator or the numerator because it never flips. Only if it says division there. Capiche? Okay. Identify the least common denominator. Factor first. Yeah? I need to factor this. I can take out a what? 6x, and what's left inside? X minus 4. Yes? Right here, I can take out a 4, right? And that leaves me with x squared minus x minus 12. And then I can super x this. What do I get when I super x it? -12, -1, 3 and 4. And the 4 is negative. So x plus 3, x minus 4. All right, let's talk about the parentheses first because they're usually the easy part, and then we'll talk about this stuff out in front. Okay, I have an x minus 4. That means my LCD has to have an x minus 4. What other parentheses does it need to have? Also an x plus 3. So it needs to include all the parts of each of those. Okay, now if this was x minus 4 squared, I would have to have a squared there because I have to take the higher exponent, right? Now talking about what's in front, there's an x, therefore there has to be an x out in front there. If there was an x and an x cubed, I would make this one over here a what? X cubed. Take the higher exponent always. 6 and 4. If I count by 6's and I count by 4's, what's the smallest number on both lists? 12. So 12 has to be out in front also. Most of you got this part. A lot of people put, I think, 6 out in front instead of a 12. Okay? Remember, 6 is not on this list right here. Questions there? Those were 4 points each. Now we get into ones that are 6 points each. I am going to give you workspace, obviously, because you're going to need to show this. These are heftier points, though. All right, multiply or divide, give each result in simplest form. No need to state the excluded values this time. Okay? We already tested you on the excluded values up here. We're not looking for that information here. We're just looking to see, can you multiply or divide? So, again, what do I need to do? Factor first. So, when we are multiplying and dividing, we factor everything, top and bottom. There were some groups that I saw that were just canceling out x squareds like this, and that's like fingernails on a chalkboard to me. I want to be like, no, did you miss everything that I taught you? We must factor first all the time. I think I wrote it in like all capital letters, taking like 3 lines on the notes. Yeah. Didn't I? Yeah. So please do not start canceling anything until they are in parentheses, ever. So I have a fraction here. X squared minus 6x plus 9, that's a super x. And if you do the super x, you will learn it becomes x minus 3, x minus 3. Now I could write that as x minus 3 squared, but for canceling purposes, I like leaving it like that. On the bottom, I have x and then x minus 9. You good there? Just to make sure I don't lose anyone, I'm going to keep it as division right now. Up here, this is also super x. If you're getting good at the super x, you should be able to recognize it's x and x. This one would be plus 5 minus 3. Down here, I can take out an x. When I take out an x, I have x squared minus 12x plus 27. And that I need to super x. And that will become x, what? Minus 9 minus 3. Now, can I start canceling? No. I have not flipped. So I have x minus 3, x minus 3. I have x and x minus 9. Nothing changes there. On this side, I change it to multiplication, and I have to flip it upside down. So x plus 5x minus 3 goes here. And that stuff goes up here. X minus 9, x minus 3. And remember with our fractions, when we have multiplication, I said treat it like one giant fraction. Now, I must not have hit this well enough in the notes because I had people coming and asking me, can I cancel this with this? You can never, ever, ever cancel a top with a top or a bottom with a bottom. You can only cancel something on top with something on bottom. Now, it can be something on top over here and bottom over here. That's fine. But you can never cancel side to side, only up and down. Okay? Big rule right there. So I can cancel out those two, but I couldn't cancel out those two. All right? What else can I cancel? X minus 9. Anything else? X. And I think that's it, right? So I could write my answer as x minus 3 over x plus 5. Or I could call it x plus 3 squared over x minus 5. Any of those that mean the same thing. Okay? So. If I asked you for excluded values, would this be a hard problem to state the excluded values on? Because you're already factoring anyways. So I have 0, 9, 0, 9, 3, right? And then the division means I also have to take negative 5 and positive 3. Those would be my excluded values. Okay? All right, this one's already multiplication. So once again, I'm going to factor first. I just don't need to do that flipping step on this one, do I? So up here, this is super x. When you do the super x, it's x minus 2, x minus 3. Down here, this is also super x. However, I think I'm going to actually do the super x because when we have a number in front of x squared, it's a little trickier. 5 times 3 is negative 15 and negative 14. And then I know I'm going to have 5x and 5x. What are two numbers that multiply to get negative 15 and add to get negative 14? Right? This one can reduce. 5x minus 15 becomes x over negative 3. So I have x minus 3, and I have 5x plus 1. Okay? I can tell right away if you have a plain x here and a plain x here that you didn't super x that one correctly, because with a 5 as a coefficient there, one of these has to have a coefficient of 5. Otherwise, you won't end up with 5x squared. Up here, I can take out 5x, and I'm left with what? X plus 1. And down here, 2x and x minus 2. Yeah? One giant fraction. What cancels? X minus 2. That's my starting point. What else? Anything else? X is. I think that's it, right? So I have 5 parentheses x plus 1 over 2 parentheses 5x plus 1. Yeah? Now, a lot of people didn't like that this was 5 and x and this was 5x, but they're 2 different 5x's. One's inside, one's outside. Okay? Again, would this one have been terribly difficult to ask about excluded values? 3, -1/5, 0, 2. And I don't need to worry about the top because this was a multiplication problem to begin with. Not too bad? Good answer. All right, solve this question. Those people that understood how to do these thought this was the easiest problem on the test. If you remembered that little chart that we did, had a couple columns like that. Actually, I think there's one more line. I call this one Danielle and this one Molly. How long can Danielle complete one job? 6 hours. So she can complete one job in 6 hours, right? Molly completes one job in 4 hours. I'm looking for the time together, and now I just multiply. What's 1/6 times x? And 1/4 times x? So now I take these two and I set up my equation. X over 6 plus x over 4 equals what? 1 full job. Let me get another color for this. Okay. What is my LCD? If I count by 6s and I count by 4s, 12 is the smallest number on both lists. So I'm going to multiply all of these by 12 over 1. And over here, I don't need to put the over 1. Yeah? So 12 over 6 reduces to what? 2 over 1, so that gives me 2x. Right here, 12 over 4 gives me 3x. And 1 plus 12 is, or 1 times 12, sorry, is 12. So what do I have? 5x equals 12. Divide by 5. X equals 12/5. And 12/5 is a stupid answer when you're asking about a time. Because would you say, oh, I'll be there in 12/5 hours? No. We don't talk like that. That's not realistic, is it? Now, one group, I can't remember if it was this period or one of the others, actually converted it into minutes, which actually is kind of tricky. You got to remember that there's only 60 minutes in an hour, and if you just use decimals and stuff, they're counting on base 10. So here's my recommendation. Take 12 divided by 5, not 412, 12 divided by 5, and you get 2.4, and just leave it at that. That tells me it's almost 2.5 hours. That's if I say I'm going to be here in 2.4 hours, I might sound dumb, but at least it's a little bit more reasonable than 12/5 hours. There was one group, I corrected their grammar. They said 12/5 of an hour. And I said, 12/5 is more than 1, so it would be 12/5 hours, not 12/5 of an hour. Right? Just a little picky thing. Didn't mark off points for that, just being a nerd. Okay? Any questions about the front side? Back side, not many problems, a lot of points. 8 points each for 3 problems. All right. So, excluded values I can do first, real quick, can't I? X plus 2 means that -2 is an excluded value, and x minus 16 means that positive 16 is an excluded value. Some people put 0. Maybe they got it from there. I don't know. You only need the denominators. Now, this one I'm going to do a different method than 7 and 8. And the only reason I'm going to do that is because it's fraction equals fraction, which means I can do the cross multiplying, right? If you don't like to remember the cross multiplying, then just hang with me through this. I'll meet up with where you would be about halfway through, and you can do this one the same way you can do these guys, okay? So how does cross multiplying work? Well, I'm going to take those two and multiply them. So that would be x times x minus 12 and 16. Sorry, my brain's half here. And then this way would be x plus 2, 3x plus 7. And I said an equal sign in the middle. Now remember, this is like cleaning your closet. It's going to get messier before it gets cleaner. We got to put everything out there before we can organize things back together. So here I have x squared minus 16x. Over here I have 3x squared plus 7x plus 6x plus 14. Yeah? Now I have everything spread out, so now I can start organizing stuff. I'm going to go ahead and subtract x squared. And if it's okay with you, I'm going to add 16x in the same step just because I don't want to write it all over again. Is that okay? Combining all my like terms, so I have 0 equals, this will be 2x squared. All of this together will be what? 29x, and then I have plus 14. And what do I have to do here? 2 times 14 is 28. And 29, I think that's 28 and 1. And I have 2x and 2x. This will reduce to what? X over 14. So 0 equals x plus 14, bless you, and 2x plus 1. My answer here is x equals 14. My answer here is x equals negative 1/2. Are either of those my excluded values? Negative what? Yes, thank you. Are either of those my excluded values? No. So my answers are negative 14 and negative 1/2. By the way, none of these answers are in parentheses, right? Because my answers are not an ordered pair. Now, a lot of people are just in the habit of when they have one number, comma, another number, they put it in parentheses because it's just a habit. Don't do that here. That totally makes it way wrong. Way, way wrong, okay? Even if you have the correct numbers here, that's just conceptually way off base, okay? So let's try not to go there. All right. Questions on that one? All right. Numbers 7 and 8, both of these, I have to find an LCD first. So I'm going to look at my denominators. I see a difference of squares right here. So instead of m squared minus 4, I'm going to call this m plus 2, m minus 2. That's what I'm going to call that denominator. You okay with that? This one's already factored, so I'm going to put it in parentheses. This one is also going to be m plus 2, m minus 2. So, what is my LCD? LCD. M plus 2, m minus 2. Okay. From my LCD, I should be able to get my excluded values pretty quick, shouldn't I? Because the LCD covers all those parts. So what are my excluded values? 2 and negative 2. Those are my only excluded values. So now's the part where I take my space and I write it out a little bit longer just so that I can clearly see what's going on. But I'm going to write these fractions again with those awkward spaces. Remember that? So I'm going to leave a strange space there. Then I'll put minus 2 over m minus 2. Again, leave a strange space, equals m over m plus 2, m minus 2. And again, you may think this is a waste of space, but I think that it really helps keep things clear as to what's canceling and what's not. Yes?
If we don't include this step, will you drop them?
No.
Okay.
On my answer key, I totally blew through that step. Okay? But for those of you that are really wanting, you know, to make sure that you do all the steps and see where everything's going, this step is really important for that. Okay? So what am I going to fill in my awkward spaces with? LCD over 1. LCD over 1. LCD over 1. And now what do? I treat these like the multiplication problems on the other side. So right here, what cancels? M plus 2, M minus 2. I'm left with M plus 6 over 1, which is just M plus 6. Yeah? Minus. Let's see what we got here. What cancels? So I have minus 2 parentheses M plus 2. Equals, that cancels, that cancels. I have M over 1, which is just M. So once I've done that step, I should have something much cleaner to work with. No fractions left. If you have fractions left here, then you didn't have the right LCD in the previous step. So you got to go back. So M plus 6 minus 2M minus 4 equals M. So let's see, M and negative 2M, that would be negative M. 6 minus 4 is positive 2 equals M. I'm going to add M. So I have 2 equals 2M. What does M equal? M equals 1. That is not one of my excluded values, so 1 is my answer. Easy peasy?
Wait, you're supposed to subtract the m because it's positive, right?
I moved this one.
Can you move from the other side too? Or
Yeah, you could move it this way if you wanted to, but then you have to move that one that way. So either way, it's 2 steps. If you moved this one this way, that would give you negative 2M plus 2 equals 0. You'd have to subtract 2. You'd get negative 2M equals negative 2. Divide by negative 2, and you still get M equals 1. So either way at that end. All right. Now, we have not yet encountered an issue where the answer and the excluded values overlap. And I guarantee you that will happen on this back side somewhere. Well, on these questions somewhere, since it's not going to be on paper. Which means that if I haven't encountered it yet, and I'm confident I did those right, then I'm pretty sure I'm going to encounter it here. So be prepared. All right. So again, I have to find my LCD first, so I need to factor. What does this one factor into? X minus 7, X plus 3. Convenient, because this one is X minus 7, and this one is X plus 3. So you can always look at other places in the problem to help you find things like that. What is my LCD? Yep. Does it matter if I say X minus 7, X plus 3, or X plus 3, X minus 7? Nope, doesn't matter. All right, so now's the step where I'm going to write the awkward spaces. Actually, before I get to the awkward spaces, let's list our excluded values before things start getting more involved. From my LCD, I cannot have what? Positive 7 or negative 3 as answers. Okay? So 50 over X minus 7, X plus 3, leave a space, equals 5 over X minus 7, leave a space, plus X over X plus 3, and I have space there. What am I filling in those spaces with? LCD over 1. So X minus 7, X plus 3, all over 1. X minus 7, X plus 3, all over 1. X minus 7, X plus 3, all over 1. So now let's start canceling some things. So right here, what's going to cancel? X minus 7, X plus 3, what am I left with? 50 over 1, which is just 50. Equals, what do I get right here? What cancels? So I have 5 and X plus 3. I'm telling yourself, give yourself that space there. It's very easy to see what's left over then. Plus, what have I got here? X plus 3's can cancel, so I have X parentheses X minus 7. All right, let's get rid of these parentheses and see what we can do. 5X plus 15 plus X squared minus 7X. So I have some rearranging I need to do. I'm going to go ahead and subtract the 50 also. That'll get subtracted right here. Oops, 50. So I have 0 equals x squared. Let's see, 5x and negative 7x is negative 2x, and 15 minus 50. Yeah? I know I did that organizing in a quick step there. I hope I didn't lose anyone. So this is a super X or a snowflake, and when you snowflake, you get x minus 7, x plus 5. So what do I get here? 7. Here, negative 5. I have to throw out one, don't I? Because way at the beginning I said 7 couldn't be an answer. So this one gets thrown out. The only one I write in my answer line is negative 5. What if I had to throw them both out? You would just say no solution. Do I need to state that 7 is extraneous? No, just drop it out. Okay, and that's what it means when it says remember to check for extraneous solutions. It's that last step of making sure that your answers don't overlap with the excluded values. Okay, questions? Happy studying.